A week before the most significant document of my life was due, my master's thesis, disaster struck. Months of painstaking research, countless sleepless nights, and endless cups of coffee had culminated in this one document, which was my lifeline. It was the final step in my academic journey and the bridge to the career I had worked tirelessly to build. Zai lived a simple life, working several part-time jobs while taking classes, barely making enough for rent, let alone things like cloud backups or a spare computer. But I was proud. I was building something for myself. Please subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments where you are watching this video from. That's when my brother stormed into my room, demanding that I drive him to a party. I calmly refused. I had to finish my thesis. He scoffed and mumbled, "Just because you're in school, you think you're better than everyone?" Ignoring him was a mistake. He stormed off, and within moments, I heard a crashing sound. I rushed into the living room, only to find my laptop shattered on the hardwood floor. The screen was cracked straight down the middle, the keyboard was snapped off, and the body was bent out of shape. My brother stood over it, arms crossed with a smug look on his face. "Oops," he said. "It slipped." He said, "It slipped." I couldn't breathe. I dropped to my knees, staring at the destruction of my work. Every file, every draft, gone. I turned to my parents, tears streaming down my face, desperate for their support, but they didn't even flinch. My mom chuckled and waved her hand dismissively. "It's just a computer," she said. "You're being dramatic," my dad shook his head. Amused? "You kids and your digital nonsense. You should have printed it out like we used to." It felt like a nightmare. My own family, the people who were supposed to be there for me, were laughing while my dreams were being destroyed right in front of my eyes. And the worst part was, their favoritism wasn't even hidden. My brother shrugged and said, "Maybe next time, don't act like you're the only one who matters." I left the room in silence. I didn't scream, I didn't argue. I sat in the dark, my heart pounding and rage boiling in my veins. In that moment, I decided this wouldn't be the end of my story. It would be the beginning of my revenge. I scraped together every cent I had, pawned my guitar, skipped meals, and pleaded with my professor for an extension. I worked overnight shifts on campus computers, using flash drives and Google Docs as if my life depended on it, because it did. But while I was silently rebuilding my thesis, I was also planning something else. You see, my brother's party boy reputation was about to crumble. I began collecting receipts, literal ones, for everything he had charged on my parents' credit card. Fake ID, alcohol, and even a broken window from a wild night that he had blamed on a neighbor. My parents never bothered to look twice, but I did. And I waited. The day I submitted my thesis was the same day I scheduled a meeting with the dean's office. The topic wasn't about me, but about a certain student who had recently plagiarized an entire assignment. My brother. I had found the original online. It was too easy. My parents had no idea what was coming, but they would. I didn't speak to my family for a while after that day, not out of rebellion, but because I needed all my strength to rebuild what they had tried to destroy. As I fought my way back to finishing my thesis, alone and unsupported, my brother walked around like he was invincible. My parents still coddled him like a golden child, completely unaware of the storm brewing under their roof. The night I submitted my thesis, I didn't cry from exhaustion. I cried because I had survived. I had rebuilt everything he tried to erase, but I wasn't finished. You see, my parents would praise my brother for things like finally getting a B or not wrecking the car that month, but they had never once acknowledged the effort it took for me to make it to graduation. They never asked if I was okay after the laptop incident. Instead, they spent money upgrading my brother's car stereo and threw a barbecue in his honor for staying out of trouble. Meanwhile, I was piecing my life back together with duct tape and fury. But fate has a way of helping those who help themselves. My thesis was selected for a national award, and I was to present it at a conference in Chicago with all expenses paid. I didn't even tell my parents. I just packed my one good outfit, boarded the flight, and stood in front of a hall full of professionals, professors, and innovators. These were people who saw me, valued me, and applauded for me. The day after I returned, I came home to chaos. My brother had been caught cheating again, but this time it wasn't just in school. He had submitted a plagiarized article to a local magazine using my name. I found out when the magazine emailed me for follow-up edits, thinking I had written it. When I investigated, I realized it had been copied word for word from an obscure blog. I confronted him calmly, showing him the evidence. He laughed and said, "No one's going to believe you." "You're the dramatic one, remember?" But I wasn't just the dramatic one anymore. I was the one with proof, with credibility, and with a growing network. So I sent the full report to the university board, the magazine's editorial staff, and copied the ethics committee. But the final blow didn't come from me. It came from the financial institution. Remember all those charges my brother had made on my parents' card? The new tires, the fake ID, the online gambling. I had quietly compiled them all into a digital folder, complete with timestamps, merchant receipts, and a signed application he had faked using my name. Yes, he had used my name to sign up for a $2,500 student line of credit without my permission. It wasn't just theft, it was fraud. It was fraud. When I presented it to the bank with legal counsel from the university's free clinic, they launched an investigation. My brother was summoned. My parents panicked. My mother cried, "You're tearing this family apart over money." To which I calmly replied, "No, he did that when he tore my life apart, and you laughed." They tried everything to silence me. My dad offered to handle it privately. My mom begged, "Just let it go. Family comes first." I stared at them blankly. I am family. You just forgot that part. The court date was set. My brother tried to claim mental stress. My parents tried to blame me for not telling them sooner. I brought emails, screenshots, evidence, and a calm, collected demeanor that stunned them into silence. But I wasn't seeking jail time. I wanted justice. I wanted him to experience what I had to, rebuilding from nothing. So I demanded full financial restitution for the damages. The cost of the laptop, the thesis recovery process, the forged credit, $75,000, and the judge agreed. My brother's accounts were frozen. My parents, in desperation, offered to settle it within the family. They even said, "You owe her that much. She's the favorite." That was the final nail in the coffin, because that's when I realized they would never see me as a daughter, just a means to keep their golden son out of trouble. So I walked away. And the next time they tried to reach me, they received an auto reply. "This number is no longer in service. Please contact your favorite child instead." 6 months passed in silence. My parents didn't call. My brother tried once to blame me for ruining his future, but I was done answering to people who never listened when I was crying, who only remembered I existed when they needed something signed or silenced. I moved to a different city and took a job at a think tank that paid me well, valued my ideas, and most importantly, respected my name. But the universe wasn't finished with them yet. One evening, I received a call from a woman named Olivia, the editor-in-chief at a rising investigative journalism outlet. She was following a lead on academic fraud cases linked to a certain university, and apparently my brother's name had surfaced in connection with several other questionable activities, including reselling plagiarized essays and forged recommendation letters. She had heard about the court case and found my name on the transcript. "I'd love to hear your side of the story," she said. First I hesitated, but then I realized something. My silence had protected them for too long. So I agreed. I didn't trash them or go for drama. I simply told the truth. How a girl's academic future was nearly crushed by her own brother. How her parents laughed and defended the guilty while watching their daughter drown. And how they only begged for forgiveness when the courts got involved. The article went viral within days. The title, Family Loyalty or Family Scapegoat, One Woman's Fight Against Toxic Silence. My old professor shared it. Former neighbors sent me messages. A teacher from high school reached out to say, "We always knew you were the strong one." But my family, they lost the one thing they cared about, their reputation. My mother's book club canceled their invite. My father's promotion at work was quietly withdrawn due to integrity concerns. And my brother was blacklisted from academic opportunities and internships because people now had receipts. Not rumors, not gossip. Fact. And here's the twist they never saw coming. The think tank I worked for acquired a historic family estate in my hometown to turn into a retreat and innovation center. Guess who used to host their family reunions on that exact property? Yes, my parents. My parents. I didn't buy it out of revenge. I bought it because the property was ideal, serene, symbolic, and spacious. But when it was time for their annual reunion, they reached out to book it like they always did, and I was the one who received the request. I didn't respond. I just had my assistant send the new policy, booking subject to owner approval. Family members with unresolved litigation or a history of abuse will be declined. They received the message loud and clear, but it wasn't over. A week later, I was at the estate preparing for our annual retreat when I saw a familiar car pull up. My parents stepped out looking aged, tired, and humbled in a way I'd never seen before. They didn't recognize me at first. I was in a crisp white suit, walking beside the program director and keynote speakers. I looked nothing like the girl who once begged them to listen. My mother's lips trembled. My father looked like he'd swallowed a stone. We didn't know it was you who. I held up a hand. You did. You just didn't think I'd ever own anything. They tried to explain, to apologize. My mom said, "We were scared you'd turn the world against your brother." I smiled calmly. He did that all by himself. I just stopped protecting him. They asked if I would consider letting them use the space. I told them gently, "There's a lovely public park 2 towns over. You'll find it less intimidating." Then I turned and walked away. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to prove anything. Their silence, their guilt, their stunned eyes, that was enough. Because in the end, I wasn't just the scapegoat anymore. I was a success they tried to erase. I was the woman they ignored until she stood at the gates of what used to be theirs, holding the keys they could never take again. And that was justice. Not loud, not cruel, just final. Please subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments where you are watching this video from.